Akshita Kaushal
And I, Revant Agrawal,
of PGP Batch 2224, warmly welcome you all to the first panel discussion of the day on the topic Data-Driven HR, using people analytics to optimize HR processes and talent management. As we gather here to delve into the realm of using people analytics, we embark on a journey to unlock the insights that will not only optimize our HR processes, but also sculpt the future of effective talent management. I would now like to take the privilege of introducing our esteemed panelists. I'm honored to introduce our first guest, Sri Joseph Philip, Senior Managing Consultant, IBM. Mr. Joseph Philip is an alumnus of XLRI Jamshedpur, specializing in HR personnel management and industrial relations. He is currently working as a senior managing consultant in IBM with a demonstrated history in the information technology and services industry. He carries with him an experience of over 20 years in companies like Mercer, Wipro, and EY. He is a certified change practitioner and is highly skilled in consulting, business transformation, and business process outsourcing. We welcome you, sir.
I now have the pleasure of introducing our second panelist, Sri Manoj Kharkwal, Head HR, Ops and Transformations, CAST 24. An alumnus of IMT Ghaziabad, Mr. Manoj Kharkwal has an experience of over 15 years in HR with a focus on operations and transformation. Prior to this, Mr. Manoj Kharkwal was serving as a senior manager, HR business partner at Genpact, wherein he drove multiple people initiatives at a vertical level to drive process efficiencies, talent development, and engagement. So we are honored to have you here with us.
Our third distinguished guest for the discussion is Sri Kiran Prasad Ivituri, Chief Human Resources Officer, CESACare. Mr. Kiran Prasad Ivituri is currently working as a Chief HR Officer at CESACare. He has 15 plus years of work experience in managing the wide array of HR roles, including HR strategy, business partnering, OD, talent strategy and management, employee engagement, rewards, and HR operations. Sir has worked across key sectors, including telecom, FMMC, and pharmaceuticals, with organizations such as Marico, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, GSK, and Atria Convergence Technologies, prior to CESACare. Known for an ability to deliver within fast-paced environments demanding strong organizational and interpersonal skills, he is an alumnus of IMT Ghaziabad. Sir, we welcome you to the first panel discussion today.
It is a privilege to introduce our fourth panelist, Sri Paramveer Singh Narang, India Head of Talent Acquisition, Capital One. Mr. Narang has over 15 years of experience in talent acquisition with a focus on data-driven strategies. He has held leadership positions at several leading organizations, including Standard Chartered Bank, ANZ Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and Bank of America. In his current role at Capital One, Mr. Narang is responsible for leading the talent acquisition function for the India region. He is passionate about using data to build a high-performance workforce that is aligned with company strategic objectives. An alumnus of Bharatiya Vidyapeeth, known for his talent and commitment towards his work, Mr. Narang brings a wealth of experience to the forefront of our discussion today. So we welcome you to our panel discussion.
I would now like to take the privilege of introducing the moderator for this discussion, Professor Damini Saini, Professor, HRM and OB, IIM Raipur. Having earned her PhD from FMS Delhi in HRM OB, she served as an assistant professor in University of Lucknow. She is a key editorial member for Journal of Applied Research in Higher Education. She has also been rewarded UGC's Junior and Senior Research Fellowship during her tenure. She has received the Best Research Paper Award thrice in her research on value-based management and leadership areas. She is passionate about empowering others by sharing her knowledge, skills, enthusiasm for self-leadership. I would now request Professor Damini Saini to felicitate our guests with a bouquet. Sri Joseph Philip, Shri Manoj Kharkwal, Shri Kiran Prasad Ivaturi, Shri Paramveer Singh Narang. I would now request Professor Rashmi Shukla to felicitate Professor Damini Seni with a bouquet. Thank you, ma'am. I request the moderator, Professor Damini Seni, to kindly take the panel discussion ahead.
Hello. So thank you so much. We can see some of the distinguished guests here, and I can say what a stellar panel we have today. Such a diverse people on the stage to tell you about their industries and how they are using the analytics. Okay. So you know about the topic that we are going to discuss. It is data-driven HR. We also call it HR analytics. So we also have, I think, an elective on HR analytics. It is something which is very in HR these days. So if you are interested in HR, you might know about it. But for the people who don't know, in simple words, it is collecting and analyzing the data related to employees in order to enhance the productivity of the workforce. So that is it. Now, we are here to enlighten you about the techniques that industry is actually using in relation to managing their HR to enhance their performance, productivity. So, and even if you are not going to join as a HR in any company, you have to work for the companies. And I think that you must know what are the processes and the techniques they are going to use to assess your performance. It is also helpful for you. Okay. And it is obviously good for each of us to enlighten us about what is new and going on in the industry. Right. So because we are limited to the theoretical knowledge about the concepts, but here we have people who can tell you about the practicality of HR analytics, or you can say people analytics, how they are using the data. Okay, so I think we should start the discussion, and a very simple question we have to start with, which is how you people are using data-driven HR or HR analytics or people analytics in your own companies, how you are using it. So we want to know that. Yeah, you can start, please.
Hello. Oh, great. So thank you, Professor, for that question. So as she rightly explained it, it's about the process of collecting and analyzing the data. So the first question that we need to ask is, who is analyzing the data? And the answer always is the manager of the employee. HR is able to bring this data together, and we will go into the details of what data is being used. But we are bringing this data together and creating analytics solutions. I'm not calling it a dashboard or a report, but analytic solutions, which could be a dashboard, it could be a report, it could be a prompt, it could be a nudge, It could be a recommendation. Any of these things are created for the managers to act on the employee in order to improve his performance. That was the definition. And that's absolutely brilliant. And that's what we do. And how we go about doing it so I'm from IBM. So how we do it is when we had the first time when we had in 2008 or 9, when we had first thought about how we will transform this, right? So what we thought of it is that how do we make each of these processes available to each of the employees? How do you democratize the HR process? How do we ensure that a career planning is not available just to the top management, but not even to the high performers, but to every employee? How do we ensure that the learning recommendations are being available to every employee? How do you ensure that the recruitment is done for every position in an AI-enabled way? How do you ensure that the compensation that every employee is getting is driven through the AI lens? Every HR process and can be viewed from an AI lens in order to enable it. And that's what IBM did. We'll go into the details. But in addition to this, there is another process which the employee himself initiates, which is the collaboration and the knowledge management. Even there, you can enable AI. How would you like it if when you go into an office or when you go into a restaurant, the app is able to say, okay, 3 of your friends are here. Would you like to talk to them? That's possible. These are nudges which can happen based on analytic solutions. So there are a whole host of solutions which we can see being used in organizations. It's basically the philosophy of a population of one. So how can you transform the process which spans across multiple, which HR processes are typically for the entire employee population? How can you make it relevant for a population of one, a single employee? That's what AI does. And that's what analytics does for you. So we will go into the details as we.
Just to add here before we take this further, like I think Professor Damani was saying that few of you will be joining HR. So how many of you will be actually looking at a career in HR? Good. And the ones who are not joining HR, be mindful your friends will have your data, how you are performing in the organizations. So I think just to add a bit here, just from the talent acquisition perspective, I think for last few years, we are using technology, AI features extensively, to starting from hiring to tail retiring. But when you see that hiring was not being done efficiently even earlier, it was done. Maybe I think all of us, when we have started our career, not even Excel sheets, maybe just on papers, right? And maybe if you see the banks today, I don't know how many of you really visit banks even once a month, but check with your parents, maybe grandparents, they may be using banks every day, even if you have to check the account balance of your account. Maybe he has to visit the bank. They will look at some of the books and they will write on your copy by saying this much balance you have in your account today. So AI has changed in last almost a decade. So we are using some sort of a ATS tool, which is called the automated, talent tools we have in the organizations. When you apply for the roles, right? Maybe if we can take an example, even now, I think I can see around 200 students sitting in the room today. If you are applying for one role, all of you will apply that, and tool have a feature to give us a top shortlisting of top 10% students who are exactly matching to my job requisition. I may not need to go through other 90% of the profiles. I just have to look at my top 10%. I'll start the interview process. If we find the best fit, we are good. If no, I can go to the next 10% there. So that's where technology have played a huge role in driving the data and putting the best people for us to hire the talent pool here. Maybe another bit, if I can say that when we look at our overall year's performance and all that, I think like Joseph mentioned that your managers will have access to your performance, how you have done that, what sort of development is required. But at the same time, nowadays all these tools have a great feature that you can run a 360-degree feedback for yourself. You can ask your junior, you can ask your colleagues, you can ask your peer group, maybe your business, your stakeholders, and your leadership team as well. So when we finish that cycle of 360 degrees, so the automatically tool will come and say that which area is your development area and what courses are aligned, where you need to start looking at those courses, or maybe some training program, which will help you to improve yourself and perform better for the next year. So that's where technology have play a big role, and that is absolutely a data driven.
Right. So can you elaborate more on how do you differentiate an effective manager from the others who are not that effective or productive in relation to each other? Yes, you can.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Professor Domini and co-panelists. Okay, first of all, let me answer that in a bit. Before telling that, I'll tell you how did we use in CESA.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how many of you guys know CESA. We are an Ayurvedic hair care, fast moving consumer good company. It's a startup. The brand is old. Brand is 30-year-old. Okay, but the new private equity investor True North LLP has brought over this brand, and the operation started 5 years back. In fact, tomorrow is our 5th anniversary, 27th August, which was 5th anniversary of the company. Thank you, guys. Okay, so good part of CESA is when we started. Okay, we said that we go full tech driven. Okay, so I'm very proud to say we are paperless office, except for our brand color sheets, which are coded and which have to be recorded for certain statutory purposes, and our lab reports for certain clinical data. Nothing, no paper is used anywhere in the office. We are full paperless. Why is it very important? The thing is, we have 3 systems which can talk to each other, and very happily and proudly I can say at a small space we've integrated them. One, we have an HRMS tool called Darwinbox. Then we have an SFA, okay, which is called Bizom, okay, and SAP. Okay, SAP BI module. Okay, so the beauty of this thing is for any sales manager. Okay, we have an entire, dispersed sales force of around 410 people across length, breadth of India, and Bangladesh happens to be one of our biggest markets. Okay, so around 120 odd people in Bangladesh itself. Okay, out of this 410. So for these 410 people, when a manager looks at the data, okay, it's not just the HR data gets into him. It's an integrated report of a performance. And it also showcases for a particular sales rep, okay, which kind of tools were used, or what are the kind of schemes which a particular region has run or a particular area has run to enhance the sales over there, and how looking at the last 3 months data or a competitive data which was infused into SFA, the present sales rep in his team can focus upon selling certain SKU. Okay, so this is the second level of integration what we are doing. So one, from a HR perspective or a HR practitioner perspective, I can say this guy might not be a great performer. Okay, because for last 3 months he has been market share is going down, or his number of primary sales are not happening to the time which is there. The second way is to how am I integrating the other business data which is there to enhance the performance of this individual. Okay, and that's what is the power the technology can give to the manager, and manager can look at at a small dashboard level what is happening in various places and what are the things happening, and if required he or she can deep dive into it. So just to answer how managers can do this is the way it is. So beauty of technology, if integrated, it's even more powerful. Okay, it multiplies your productivity, multiplies your decision making to the different level. And it happened, might be because we started a small scale, it happened very nicely, and it's just we are scaling up and we are able to do it better. Okay, but that's what technology gave to us. Okay, so
thanks, Kiran. I will build on to what my co-panelists said. But before I do that, I can see some people yawning. It must have been an early morning today, right? So let me ask a question to all of you. If I buy a Tesla, which is a self-driven car, and I don't have a power socket at my home, can the Tesla run? No, right? That's what people analytics does in the era of tech. HR tech has been a buzzword for a couple of years now. However, if you look at the statistics, there are still 41% of the organizations that are running on Microsoft Excel, right? So how do they run their operations? They are far away from tech, but they're still running their operation. How does it work? It is people analytics that helps make it work, right? Not saying that we should not adopt technology. We should adopt technology. Technology helps us do things faster and better. But if you do not top it up with people analytics, then it's like a cake without a cherry, right? Now, deep diving into people analytics. We collect data about employees right from the start till the end. The entire hire to retire process, we collect data. I wouldn't delve more into talent acquisition. I think Paramveer will be able to add more insights to that. But talent acquisition, you gather data, you understand the cost of manpower, right? Onboarding, you gather data about their personal details. You understand where they come from, what are their demographics. Then they move to training. You collect data about their learning capabilities. Then they move to production. They join the businesses. You collect data about their performance. Before they exit, when they exit, you collect data about why people are exiting the organization. Retention is also important. So it's a lot of data that we are collecting throughout the process of hire to retire. How do you make use of that data is something which is very, very important. And not knowing how to make use of the data is something I think knowing how to make of the data differentiates those who do not know how to make use of the data, right? One, you need to have clear matrices in place. You need to have metric to judge each of your HR processes. And you need to also have the right metric to judge the respective HR process. I'll give an example. Let's say I have a team of HR business partners, and one HR business partner takes 100 calls and is able to answer 100 emails in a month. I get 500 calls and 500 emails in a month from employees. How many HR business partners do you think we would need to run the HR effectively? Any answers? Okay, I guess people did not know that I'm going to ask a question. Let me ask again. 100 calls and 100 emails, one HR business partner is able to answer. How many HR business partners would I need to answer 500 calls and 500 emails? 5? Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But, and that's also analytics. But if I dwell deeper and I see what are the type of queries, the emails or the calls that these HR business partners are getting, and I realize that 300 of those calls are only for employees not getting medical identity cards on time. Now, what would you want to do? Would you want to hire 4 more HR business partners? Or would you want to relook at your medical process, your medical vendor, and see, do you need to change that medical vendor, or do you need to add 1 more person in the medical team to run it effectively? Right? Now the answer may be different. You may say that I would want to run my medical process efficiently because now I have insights and I know that my medical process is not working right, because of which my HR business partners are getting queries. Correct? So that's the power of people analytics. That's how it guides you which direction to take.
Just to add upon, in fact, I was talking to Paramveer and Gaurish just before this. In fact, we have a very unique way of looking at it. So when we started as a company, there were no insurance companies which were ready to give us an medical insurance. And that's seen as one of the very, very important policy for an employment. Okay, especially when you get field stuff. Okay, because they're in sun, in rain, in winters over there. Okay, it will be very difficult for them to perform. And if medical claim is seen as one of the attractive propositions. Okay, as an employee benefit law. And when we have engaged one of the fantastic brokers, Marsh, okay, and they, with their data, Marsh is present across 180 countries, and they said that because your average age is between 25 to 30 and around 27 years, most of the guys would not be preferring parental insurance. Most of the guys would prefer self, okay, and immediate family insurance. And why don't you get? And for us, it's very easy because the moment parental insurance is included, my cost goes up by 45%. So instead of spending 100 rupees, I need to spend 145 rupees. So business wise management decision is very simple, right? With 100 rupees, I can go ahead with it. So we took the policy, we launched it, and we have a social media platform by Facebook called Workplace, which has been used by our Salesforce. It was critiqued so badly. Literally, it was critiqued so badly. And to the shock, we realized that 384 people out of 414 at that point in time actually were looking for parental insurance. Okay, what it means, the immediate data point enabled us, doesn't matter for 45 rupees, but it means about 384 people who are engaged. Okay, what exactly is saying? So these things is what technology is going to provide to you. And we could not have done it if we would have sent a survey report, which was typically when I started my career, this is what when a new policy is launched, send a survey report. First of all, getting people to participate in the survey report itself is a big task. So you need to have 3-4 coordinators calling everyone. आपको survey आया है, इस email ID से आया है, या इस form रखा हुआ है administrative block में जाके भर के आ जाओ. That's the way we started careers with. Okay, and that's the way I remember doing in our plant. Okay, in Aditya Birla plant when I started my internship, I literally used to go take a pen and paper. To what it is in a span of 3.5 hours of rollout of policy, we said this is not going to fly off. Doesn't matter about extra 45 rupees, negotiate hard. Try to reduce the cost, but that has to be introduced. This is the power of analytics. And this happened within a day. And that enabled lots of goodness to the organization. Yes, organization is listening to us. And that's a good brownie point to the organization also. So it's not that something that organization is just going one-sided way.
Yeah, so that's how people analytics plays its role, right? It helps you decide which direction do you want to take before you actually take that direction. And if you have actually looked at the data closely and monitored the data closely before you take the decision, it is more often than not proves to be correct decision, right? I'll give another example. So once there was a time we were planning to relook at our leave and attendance, and till that time we were not measuring productivity by when the person is coming into office or when the person is going out of the office. That should also not be important when the person is coming in or going out, as long as the numbers or the productivity is being met. But if there is a change in the customer demand, which requires your employees to come into office on time, then what do you do that? Then the only option you have is to call people to office on time, right? So I'm from Cars24. If a customer wants to sell their car and requests for an inspection at 8 a.m. in the morning, what do I do if my employees do not report to work at 8 a.m. in the morning, right? I need people to cater to the customer demand. So I need to change the shift timing of the people as well. Now, one way of doing it is I change the shift timing right then and there. I tell everybody, hey, look, from tomorrow onwards, your shift time is 8 a.m. in the morning rather than 10 a.m. or no shift that was getting measured. The other way of doing it is I look into the data and I see how many people are actually reporting to work as per the shift assigned to them, right? Which helps me understand when and how do I administer this change in the system. If the data tells me that 80% of the people are able to report to work at 10 a.m., I might want to make the change quickly. But if the data tells me that 80% of the people are able to come to office 12 in the noon, I might want to take some time to implement the change, because it is human being that we are dealing with, right? Somebody may have their maid coming to their house 10 a.m. in the morning. They need to make changes in their schedule. They need to ask the maid to come 8 a.m. in the morning. The maid may say, I will not come. You find another one. Right? What do the person do? If I make the change right then and there, the person doesn't get food to eat. Correct? So it's important to see what is the data telling you about the behavior of your people, about your employees. And when you look at that data, it helps you take decisions and it helps you know when and how to implement those decisions.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Manojji. Would you like to add on to something? Okay. All right. So, as I said before also, we have a very diverse panel here. Mr. Joseph is from IT industry, and then Manoj ji is from Cars 24, and Kiran ji is from CESA, and Paramveer ji is from financial industry. So we actually want to know, how does this utilization of data different in various industries? Is it different, or it's kind of similar? Because the challenges are different of every industry.
Yeah, so let me try answering that. Challenges are different of every industry. That's completely right. And before you start and try to solve the challenge, you first need to understand the challenge, right? And in my view, this applies across industries. As HR professionals or anyone who has experience managing teams or running processes, at times we tend to believe that we know the solution because we have dealt with the similar problem in the past. So we know what is the solution and we try and implement that solution without actually going deep into the problem. Irrespective of which industry it is, with the way the work is changing, it is very important to go deep into the problem statement before you actually arrive at the solution. And data is what helps you do that. So in my view, irrespective of the industry or the kind of work that you're doing, the basic need of getting into the detail and understanding the problem before coming up with the solution applies across industries.
Just to, yeah. And so just to add upon, I have experience in FMCG, pharma and telecom. Okay. And started with heavy engineering as a startup. I don't see any difference anywhere. Okay. Technology is used everywhere. Now, every sector, irrespective, even age-old manufacturing setup, they're having fantastic technologies. Okay. Either on the shop floor or in terms of their management modules. Okay. So irrespective of sector, okay, irrespective of the background of work, technology is used everywhere. Okay. For example, can you ever imagine that people now today sell land virtually? Okay. Recently, I got introduced to Lodha, House of Abhinandan Lodha. They don't do any physical selling of land. So typically, if any of you or your parents, when you want to buy a home or a plot, what do? You go to a site, okay, look at a sample flat or a experience center, and then invest, or through your community, or chachaji or tauji, someone who has told you something, and then you invest. But today, these people, they have built an empire of 3,000 crores by selling land across length and width of India, totally virtual. So technology is where, okay. So I don't think so, irrespective of it. And even, for example, old days, FMCG, without you visiting distributor, without you visiting retailer, you can't do sales. Today, we have companies like Udaan. There is no need for you to visit retailer. Your 60% of primary happens on the way. So there are technologies which are enabling it. Things are changing, and literally in true sense, it's hybrid. Okay. So I don't think so. Industry specific challenges are there. Understand the challenge, as what Manoj was saying, is very, very important. The solutions might be different. Okay. What I might use in FMCG the solution might be different from what I would have used in pharma or in telecom, but the need of technology is same across.
Right.
Just
Thank
to
you.
add.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
Okay, just to add, so from the talent acquisition perspective and across the industry, there's always one job requisition. People applies, go through, say, 4 or 5 rounds of interviews, get offer, and then join. Standard process across the industry, no change. But when you look at how data is being collected, like one requisition, 100 people apply. Like my early example, top 10% people will come out and they will be going through the entire interview process. So how does your interview process is going on, right? Are you getting the sort of a link from the tool perspective that provide your feedback for your first round of conversation with the organization? And that goes with the all round of interviews till the time you don't join. You will also get the link to share your experience with the person, with the organization you're dealing with. So when you join the organization and post joining as well, I think we always have the onboarding experience and the fresh joining experience as well. And that goes up to, I think, around 3 months of time. So when you look at from the day when you first applied to that organization till your 3 months in that particular organization, there's enough data points with the organization have it. They will look at your, candidate experience, your fresh experience when you're joining the firm. And that data is really helping the organization to improve the processes, to improvise a candidate experience, and to have a great, excellent onboarding experience as well. So when you say that, is that being done manually? Of course not. We really need tools and technologies there. But with that data, applying people analytics that help us to see that which of the areas where we really need to go up and actually improvise our processes. Maybe I think one of the case, like go with the same example, for one position, we may, of course, we will hire one person. But look at the other candidates who really applied, gone through process, and 90% talent pool who did not go through the entire process as well. How's their experience? Because I'm sure when you start your career, when you start, keep applying to the organization, you will see that you just applied to the requisition, maybe on LinkedIn or the career side, that's actually going to the dark well that nobody is responding back to you. And that is a very normal tendency, not in India, across the world. So when you see that some companies, they will keep sending a message by saying that the moment you apply, you will get a message. Thank you so much for applying to us. Still a good message. Second message, the moment, let's say, candidate, they have a primary candidate, they may come back to you, send a note to you, which is again a very formatted and a standard answer by saying that we have primary candidates, we may not consider you for this role. That's fine. But keep looking at our future roles. In case you're interested, you can apply with us back again. Third aspect, maybe after 6 months, they will say that there's a role that we have opened up in the organization, which is exactly matching to your role. Do you want to look at that again? So you will see that this organization is really, really investing time in technology, in data, and they are keep updating you all the time. And you will always feel, I think this organization is really, really running a good products, good organization, the data-driven organization is there. So that's where we really come up and say that, like I said, from a talent acquisition perspective, there are a lot of aspects, but still industry is actually coming up to that speed where they are really driving the entire data and having the good candidate engagement starting from the day one when you're applying till you're onboarding and after onboarding as well.
Hello. Yeah. So I heard three answers which were very different perspectives on the same question. And like Professor said, we are all from diverse backgrounds. So that's why we are able to bring out these diverse perspectives. So if we really look at it, the manager who is making the decision, apart from different industries. So for example, if you go to retail, and you see the retail industry, the stores, right? And you'll see the stores typically have a 40 to 80% attrition. You go to a consulting firm, you would see you have a 20% attrition. But you would see that in a consulting firm, typically most of the work is done by the middle layer. In a retail industry, a person who comes in on day one is able to service the customer, is able to bill the customer in about say a 10-day training program. So the process that they use for training, the process that they use for recruitment, the process that they use for skill development will vary between recruitment and consulting for sure, right? Consulting, you need to train a person for 45 days before he becomes skilled in meeting the client. You will not put him in front, right? In retail, you can train him for 1 week and he is ready to do the billing. As a manager, it doesn't matter where we work, whether we work in consulting or retail, it doesn't matter. We still have to manage the business process to make profitability, make the money. So we will have to adopt different technologies. So Kiran talked about the way he managed the program across the for the medical benefit, right? So that's a very fast way of understanding what is the employee pulse. So he said we could have used a pulse survey, but no, we didn't. We used social media analytics. So what drives that analytics? What drives that use case, which Kiran said, right? So what the underlying technology, what it does is goes and scans through all the messages that have come, links it to the employee, takes out the relevant portions or the sentiment out of each of those, and then highlights to the manager saying that there is a discontent, right? That is where the technology actually does it. I mean, like the technology, the actual technology that works on it is based on the AI, the ML, the neural language processing, cost functions, mathematics. So all those things you will be learning. But essentially, to use that to drive that outcome, where he was able to respond, say, in 1 week, I don't know. Yeah. Same day. That's the power of this. So the same response, Paramveer was talking about recruitment, how he is able to respond from a paper-based to a completely automated aspect. He talked about how he is able to scan through hundreds of resumes and come out with a 10% resume, which is actually doing it. Now, you can always flip it and say, out of that 100 jobs that is there, which job is the best one that I'm suited to? AI will be able to answer that also, right? You will be able to write a program to scan the entire internet and come out to you with the most best jobs that you will be able to apply for. And that will be an opportunity. So suppose you build an application where each of you can log in, and then the application will give you a CV to it. The application will go and scan the web and come out to you with that job for which you are the best fit. That would cut a lot of time from your job selection process, right? So these are opportunities that you can always leverage using the AI ML in terms of decision making.
So I think it during recruitment, as you were talking about, it also reduces the human biases.
Oh yeah, that's a brilliant point. So Paramveer, you should answer the question.
I'll definitely do that. So, in my last two previous organizations, so we implemented a tool called Pymetrics. I mean, we have done the RFP and seen there are a few more global tools as well, which is available there. So what does that tool does is, so again, going back to the one single example, which I've given in the beginning, so we have one requisition, have 100 of profiles are there. So, looking at with that tool, the moment you apply, automatically you will get I think within 5 minutes time, you will get one email to go through the one test as well. This is a Pymetric, assessment. They do that. That tool helps you to, this is a gamified tool, where you have to play around 12 to 15 games in a time around 30-35 minutes time. And that will assess your 70 different traits, 70. That an individual will have that report comes out, start to look at your strategy, your focus, your hardworking skills. So all that, I think it covers around 70 different skills. So data tools also help us to remove the biasness there, irrespective. Somebody will have, say, a 7 CGPA from the education background, somebody will have a 9, would have a 6 as well. But that tool will help me to bucketize the top 10% of talent pool there. That tool have a capacity to give me 3 buckets. One is bucket 1, which will help me to say that this is an absolutely recommended pool, which we need to start looking at it. Second is in between, you still fall short of, from the first pool, you can look at a second pool as well. And the third one, they said, do not consider, but again, if you feel that you absolutely not have anybody left over from the first pool or second pool, you can still look at a third pool as well, but absolutely not recommended from the tool perspective. So what does that tool does is that tool actually remove the biasness irrespective from your race, from your city you belong to, the name you have that, and of course the skill set you belong to. And the most important is, even your CGPA doesn't matter there. What matters the most is who actually proven themselves well on that particular, that half an hour, 35 minutes time, because that tool is assessing a 70 different traits of yours. Right, that actually remove the biasness there. So there are sometimes, not really a hard example, but sometimes if I have 10 profiles, if I see that somebody, maybe just example, just consider that. If I see that somebody belongs to Punjab, I say, wow, I think let me hire this person because that person belongs to my back to my state. Right. If I see that somebody is actually looking at my college background, let me hire that person. in my team as well. So what is that bias that comes in? Because we are really looking at that pool. We are really looking at that people with a different lens altogether, right? When we are using tools and technologies, and that data-driven strategy help us to remove the entire biasness, because that gives me a totally different outcome. It doesn't matter the person belong to, the person have a name, or person have actually belong to a different college, my college, or person actually belong to my state or different state altogether.
Thank you so much.
Just to add one point, so the bias is a big topic in AI. We have to ensure that the bias is removed. But Paramveer said that the bias can be removed by the application because it's impersonal. But you see, the way the AI recommends a particular resume is based on certain factors which are tuned within it, right? When the tuning goes faulty, then the AI tool itself can have a bias. There are very famous examples of this, which happened with Google and other organizations which implemented these tools first. So that is why, just like the human decisions are prompted by the tool, just like PyTorch, the tool that Paramveer mentioned, it's important for us to manually check the output of the tool to see that there is no bias creeping in there also. So that is one area where the manager will have to go and look at the tool to ensure that there is no bias from
Just to
systems.
answer that, so I think they tool have done some models behind that, which is helping us to understand, because whenever these tool comes, I think there are few tech folks from business, they also sit together to see that does HR actually putting the right tools in place or no, because ultimately they'll impact their quality of hiring. So they always tell their guys, this is a model, this is the sort of thesis we have put up this behind that tool, which will help us to analyze the talent pool, and how, if we are saying that will remove the biasness, how we are removing the biasness there.
Yeah, just to add one more perspective to what both of you said, I think the tool will help us do all of that, right? One person applies for the job, and if the job is closed, it will tell them that the position is closed. I would want to focus on the source and quality of data at the same point in time. Garbage in, garbage out, right? If the recruiter updates the position as closed, where the position is not actually closed, the system says it's closed, right? So I would also at the same time focus on the source and quality of the data, and say that that's also of utmost importance in addition to the tech and the tool.
Maybe just to answer your point as well, nowadays the recruiter doesn't go on the portal and say that the position is closed. The moment you hit the offer button, that means offer is out. Automatically, position is pulled back from all the social media and communicates, unless recruiter doesn't want to communicate with the rest of the candidates. So automatic feature is already there in the tool, that the message goes out to all the candidates, either whatever different stages they are at that particular time, that this position has been closed, but keep looking at our career site for our future opportunities. So this is not that recruiter has to put an input. The moment we hit the button of offer moving for this candidate, offer has been rolled out and offer accepted, till that position is open. The moment offer accepted, position is closed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So how many of you would like to work in HR or become an HR leader?
Before I ask this question, I think we had around 20% hands are up. Now I think it should be more than that.
Yes, please.
I think almost still 20%. But like I said, that guys who are not
Okay.
raising their hands, your data will be in their hand then.
So my next question is actually for these people. So if you can enlighten us that how and what we should do to join this field of HR, especially, the data-driven HR analytics, what they should do, how they should proceed, what kind of expertise is required, and what kind of positions are open in the market, if you can tell us. Yeah, any one of you.
I think you're the best person to answer this.
Yeah.
So I think when we look at it, so HR analytics is a new domain which has come up, within HR. Traditionally, we always have recruiting, which is a most important function, because in case you need to develop the organization, you need to start the organization, you need to have a recruiting team, somebody who will start hiring people for you guys. One, of course, is a recruiting. We have comp and ban, we have learning, because people who are existing need to develop the talent as well, talent management team, and then business partnering, who are strategically working with the business, how to grow and which area to grow and how to retain the talent and all that. But on top of it now, most of the organization who work on the large scale, they have HR analytics as well. Like I said, there are a lot of tools and technologies are available, but still people analytics is very important, where people play a pivotal role to define and design those demographics for the leadership team, that in which area we need to invest more. So all the organizations, they have HR analytics, provided you come up with some sort of that skills, part of your curriculum. I don't know what curriculum you still have those analytics skills, but again, there are a few technology which you can learn about, say, SAS, Tableau, and Hogan. I think there are a few technologies which is helping you to learn some sort of those analytics. But beyond that, you need to have your good, strong analytical skills within yourself, which will help you to even analyze the existing reports which come out from the AI tools. But again, like I said, almost every organization, which is the large scale, maybe even if an organization strength in India is around more than 2,000 or 3,000, they will have a HR analytics, a particular team. If not a team, they will have a COE, and then COE may have one single person or maybe 5 persons out there. But they will have that particular team, which really runs as a backbone for the entire HR team to provide the right demographics.
Hello. Yeah. So, so this analytics, if you look at analytics as a domain, right? Typically, you have 4 stages. The 4 stages is, first one is where you define the strategy for analytics. So determine the need for analytics, right? So the point that Manoj said, before I go and get 5 business partners, I need to figure out what's wrong with my process. So the employee services is the domain that he was talking about. There is a strategy around how to manage the cost, how to improve the efficiency. So I'm almost sure that whoever joins HR, one of the first things that you will have to work on is to identify problem areas which you will have to solve. And that is where you will have to use your data lens and solve that problem. So that's the first aspect. Second is the design, where you are going to go and design the requirement or define the requirement definition. Typically, this is the business analyst role that organizations will play. And this is typically, these roles exist in the CIO organization, not in the HR organization. That's what you would see when you go to an HR, a large organization. And here what you do is you translate the strategy or the requirement into a definition document. You can achieve the same report through an SAP BI or an Oracle reporting solution or a Workday reporting solution, or another HRMS will have its own reporting solutions. Or you can take the data from this and bring it to a central reporting tool like a Cognos or a Tableau or a Power BI, and then report out of that, right? So that's the other option that is there. So that is the build, the third portion. And the fourth aspect is the usage or the adoption of these reports. In all these areas, these skills are required. And how do we get into these areas? And for that, you need to build certain skills. The skills are in the area of mathematics, like I told you. So you need to know a little bit of maths to understand how a cost function works. You need to know a little bit of, statistics to understand what is correlation and what is causation and all those aspects. And you should also understand how data is worked on. So for example, for want of a better example, I'm going to use Paramveer's example of the CV, right? You see a CV, you should be able to pull out data from it. I mean, like you look at the name. Okay, this is the name of a person, first name, last name. Is he male or female? What is his age group? From which area does he come? And then we should be able to find out from the CV, what are the skills that is there? And all these aspects are data elements that you pull out from the CV. So you need to be able to understand the data aspect of it. Those are the three key roles around data engineer, who does the connections between the databases, data scientist who creates this feature list. And finally, you have the data architect who builds the overall solution. So there are multiple roles. Some of them exist in CIO organizations, some of it in HR, and some of it, when you are as managers, you will have to know how to interpret this data. So all these aspects are open. So that's how I'd put it.
Just to add upon it, so again, coming back to my own example in CESA, we were very clear that we do not have any HR analytic person. We actually hired a business analytic person, because integration of data, as I was mentioning earlier, also was very important. So if you got so much of data, if the data don't talk to each other, okay, there will be no meaningful dashboard or a meaningful conversation which can happen at a leadership level or a managerial level. So we have hired a business analytic person, and that person, the main skill set what we have looked is someone who actually is very good in terms of analytics background, okay, who can understand max and simple statistics, and that's what we built it. Second, in my exposure, the other roles which lots of HR folks are taking are the analytic positions in lots of these tech companies, okay, which enable them to come with HR products. Okay, I closely work with two of the founders of very upgrowing HRMS platforms, Darrenbox and KK HR. I have seen lots of HR folks who have been hired over there, and their job is not into HR domain, but is to providing a solution roles. So they've been called as data architects for HRMS modules. That's the roles, and they've been hired from really fantastic B schools, and but they've been getting groomed to become a better business analyst. Okay, so those are the kind of roles which are coming up. And with the kind of HR knowledge what you impart in your educational institute, these roles will enable you to get the best of the suite products. Okay, and that will also create a business opportunity for the product companies which are there. That's the second type of roles which I see coming up. And third, people like us who haven't had the technology background when we started our careers, okay, and when we want to go for change management in the large scale organizations, when till now we are totally paper based, we want to move to tech. So lots of company, this is what something I have observed on LinkedIn. I haven't had first-hand experience. Lots of companies come with change transformational, HR change transformational role, chief transformational officer role, all these roles, and people are looking for these kind of background who has HR background with a technical awareness. I think these are the kind of various roles which are spanning across various industries, which I have been seeing at least.
Just maybe a last bit for me. So Amazon, I'm not sure if you have seen, there's a recent Jeff's video, which is viral across social media, where he was saying that when we go to any sort of our meetings, then they have to read a one-pager story that what we are discussing today. Of course, they have stats as well, which is part of that story. But again, they will have a 1 to 2 pager story where people have to read in that particular room, even if the meeting is for half an hour. For 10 minutes, they will read the entire story, entire stat, and then start discussing on top of it. The point here is, so even nowadays, there are a lot of organizations, including Amazon, they say that we have a data point, but again, how we are putting the story on top of that data, that's also, very important here. And when we look at that story, if we have 10 people sitting in that room, their perception of that story will be also slightly different. I was talking to Professor Damani when we are, entering this room. I said, so though we all are HR professional from different industry, but almost similar set of expertise, we have that. So when we have that questions coming in, we will have a different perspective, but it is more aligned from all the HR mindset what we have, that we will be answering the same question with slight variance in the thoughts together, right? But again, that same point which I'm referring to Mr. Jeff's video, he still feel that so we have a data, we have tools, technologies, but when you come to a room, read out the entire story, and then we start talking about it. But till then, nobody talks in that particular room for initial 10 minutes.
Thank you. That was really insightful. And actually, I did not watch the video, but I know about this thing, and it was regarding how you make introverts speak in the meetings, and sometimes they don't. So that was really good to know. And see, you all are HR and working on leadership positions in HR. So I just, it's not aligned with the panel, but I want to know that how much do you feel connected to people, or do you have that, love for people, you want to work for the betterment of the people, do you feel that? Apart from the profit perspective, I'm not talking about that. It's
We do that.
Yeah.
How much we are connected to people, of course, in our offices, because I shouldn't say that our liability, because somebody part of my organization, I really have to meet.
Hmm.
I still meet if somebody sitting next to me in my, flight as well. So yesterday there was a family sitting next to me. So we had a good chat and they said that they visited Bangalore. They have a, kid who recently joined some company, shifted from Raipur to Bangalore, and they, she's working somewhere. They thought, okay, let's go and meet her. So I think human connect is most important in this world, irrespective of, your job isn't either you're into HR or into any other domain, any other field. I think human connect is must in this world. And we really, really missed that when we had this COVID time, when we used that, time, even on a corporate world, we used to connect people. Maybe you will see that even if you are in the classroom and the moment you are getting out from the classroom, you may have some chit chats together, irrespective whether you see that, okay, your dress looks good today or your shirt looks good today, but you are not having those moments when you're having online studies there back then,
yeah.
right? We call that moment is a water cooler moment in offices. Those water cooler moments were absolutely missed when we are not in office, because even if I have to talk to my team member who's reporting to me, if I need to ping that, can we talk for 5 minutes? They will say, sorry, I'm busy. Can we talk after 5 p.m.? I have to block their calendar to talk for that 5 minutes. But that is a transactional conversation, not a chit chat. They will say, sorry, I have something else as well in case I start, going out of the topic. But when we are in offices, we are having lunch together, coffee together. Even if we are meeting that pantry area for refilling our water bottles as well, that called the water cooler moments where we are chit-chatting beyond our work. And that is must to create your relationship, build your relationship, and then maintain your relationships.
Yeah, and actually it's all correlated, for any business to sustain, cost and productivity, profitability has to be taken care of. Businesses would not be able to sustain if you do not take costs under control and you do not become profitable, right? However, at the same time, if you're investing in your employees, that always pays back. If you have a disgruntled employee, the employee is not happy, your customers would not be happy.
Yeah.
For the customers to be actually happy, the employees have to be happy. If the employees are happy, the customers are happy, you get good reviews, your business flourishes, and you grow. So it all pays back.
Yeah. So actually the question was inspired because though we are focusing upon technology, but still we want to make a more humane workplace where people are having a lot of importance, and obviously they are very important resources, but we want to humanize the workplace. So that was it. And it was a very nice discussion. Now I think we are open to the questions from the audience. Yes, Shreya.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, all of you. My name is Shreya. I'm from PGP Batch 2024. My question is for all of you. So, from what I understood, from what Paramveer sir was talking about, the data collection process at different stages, it's a lot of point of interaction data during the talent acquisition process, during the personal interview or training and performance. So you're collecting data from that. But if we talk about, let's say, marketing, in marketing, I'm collecting data about consumer behavior. So I'm also collecting where the consumer came from what website and all that, which is very important for a holistic view of what the consumer want. So do you see that trend coming in HR analytics, or do you feel that it should be there other than the point of interaction data, there should be, other data involved in the analytics for a more holistic view.
I think some bit of that Manoj have already covered that when he was saying that if as a customer needs somebody to visit at their place for the inspection of the car at 8 a.m., right? And the people are not available, or he has to see that. I think people analytics works there to see that who has to visit, and they have to make some shift arrangement there as well. I think that's where it plays that. Maybe I think I want maybe Manoj or somebody else to answer that. But again, from TA perspective, so I think data works everywhere, right? Irrespective of the domain. That's why I think your professors and college have done a fantastic job. We all are from HR. I think we are slightly different. Maybe I'm from talent acquisition, and Manoj is from HR ops together, who actually works at the backbone of the organization within HR. So we all have a diversified experience and industry as well. So maybe Manoj, if you can answer that one.
Yeah, so data is important at each processes. Whichever process is it under HR or let's say marketing, right? Any domain as such, data is important. And I have covered it already, but I'll still cover it. Talent acquisition, onboarding, then training and development, then performance management and separation. That covers the hire to retire life cycle of an employee, right? At each stage, you look at data. Data is everywhere. And as I was also saying earlier, the source of data and the quality of data is also equally important, because you're collecting data from so many sources in hire to retire life cycle journey. One manager may have a different perspective about the same individual, and the other manager may have a different perspective about the same individual. So the quality and the source of data is equally important. But to answer your question, it's important everywhere, irrespective of the domain.
So actually, the behavior can also be assessed from the data itself, and then they can take the decision on the, their experience. So that is the thing. Like if an employee is regularly late, so they can see that from the data, and they can see that, what is the problem with the behavior.
Maybe just to add, you're talking about from marketing standpoint, right? Can you give it a mic, please?
Hi. So if I may, what I meant was, for example, let's say if we are collecting data about performance on a project, right? So if you're collecting the data, you'll see how bad or good someone performed, but there is a why behind it, which I think might not be getting collected, at least in data. As a HR, you would know how and why, and the manager would know, but it's not getting collected in the data. So I was talking about that.
When you have the problem, then they will investigate what is the problem.
Yeah, one point to add, as you rightly said, data may not have all the answers in itself, but when you squeeze and hold the data tight, it speaks for itself, right? It gives all the answers. However, there still is some dark side to it, which you may not be able to assess from data, and you need to take decisions outside data. That happens, but mostly if you squeeze it tight, it gives all the answers.
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah, so just to give a practical example. So recently there was a project on which there was there was an evaluation by typically projects are evaluated by there's a lead engagement reviewer. So they would review the project and see, okay, is there any red on the project? Is there any performance issues? And the project was green. And then there was an employee survey. The survey was asking, what is your confidence that this project will deliver to the time and cost? And the senior people in the project responded saying they are not confident. So that was a data point which was used by the project to again review the project, the lead engagement reviewer to review the project. And then they found that there were some issues in stakeholder engagement. So it is possible to bring these data points together to derive these insights. But the question again is, where do we need these insights derived? At the point of decision making, not at the performance management system, because it's too late. It has to be at the point of decision making that you need to bring it. And that's a very powerful thing, because I just want to make one point. So the analytics has evolved now into something called orchestration. So what it does is it nudges you to look at data at a particular point of time. So it is not to say that this data exists, the decision point exists. At the decision point, you need to use the data, and the nudges are provided by the system. So that is where the orchestration technology is coming. And that is also driven by, to a great extent, by the generative AI, which is driving the ChatGPT and all.
Thank you so much. Can we have the next question? Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sahil Sham. I am from the PGB batch of 24. So my question, building on what Kiran sir said, that people are now selling even lands online. There is a huge wave of technology in today's world. It is disrupting almost every business function. And it is safe to say that the excellency in the HR function with tech in it differs the great organizations from the good organizations. Knowing what people to hire at what time, knowing what people to promote, I think that forms one of the core competencies of the business. But a bigger question that arises out of all of this is on the aspect of privacy and ethics. The past employees, the present employees, as well as the prospective employees, they feel like they have the right to know what data is there in the company about them, how it is being used, and what inferences are being drawn out of that data. So my question is open to the panel. So how is the organization dealing with this question of addressing the privacy rights of the people?
So with utmost confidentiality, and every tech solution has this capability built in where you can decide who has access to what kind of data. There are different permissions that you can give and the different roles that you can assign. Even if I'm in HR department, I may not have access to salary. Even if I'm in payroll department, I may still not have access to salary. So within a payroll admin role in the system, you can specify which person should have access up to which level. You can say that one person will only have access to band 1 and 2, the other person will have 3, 4. So technology solves for all of it.
Just to add here, so as an individual, if you are an employee, and back to one of my previous example, you can collect your 360-degree feedback from your juniors, your peer group, your counterparts, your stakeholders, and from junior to senior, anybody you can have that. Tools will give you the demographics to talk about that, what is your overall score, and the different questions, how you perform, how you got the scoring there. And at the same time, what are your development and opportunity areas? Number one. Number two, do you want this data to be shown even to your manager? That's on you. There's a checkbox there. I mean, I'm talking about one or two which we have used it. I'm not sure that every organization have a similar set of those features. But point is, tools have those features that do you want to showcase that data which has come to you as your feedback? Do you want to showcase that to your manager? And even if you have 10 data points, so out of those 10, which one you feel that should go to your manager to look at that? This is my opportunity. Can you assign some training for me as well? Number one, two. Third is, that data doesn't go out beyond you and your manager, because you have given the rights to your manager. Even if that rights goes to your manager also have a rights to whether these people's respective feedback should go to the leadership team or no, because we need to invest some time, some funding, some training to ensure that they will perform better. So tool have all the features around it, even as an employee.
I just want to add upon this thing, irrespective of data or non-data, ethics are something which is core to the business. Okay, I remember very, very different example, nothing related to HR. Okay. We as an organization, Marico, way back where I started my career, every manager was supposed to go to a consumer business insight because somewhere we are a consumer goods company, and until unless you don't understand the consumer behavior, there's no business sense. And if there's no business sense, obviously you be there or not being there doesn't make any value. So there was a family in Ahmedabad. Okay. I can't quote beyond this. When we went and interacted, though, it's literally very happy to see 5 generation ladies together. Okay. And that time we were benchmarking against a hair solution product. Okay. 11 years later, I'm with that same company, which is CESA today. But that time we were actually doing a consumer behavior against why CESA is growing very predominant in Gujarat and UP markets, and why not Parachute Ayurvedic, which was launched by Marico, was not growing. They were very clear. They explained why they do it and everything. But in a simple thing is, before we left the home of that consumer, it was clearly asked, can we reproduce this data for either insights or for any advertisement or for any other purpose which can enable a business to Marico? That lady who was 92 years old, the great-great-grandmother said, no, bhaiya, nahi. We didn't use it. Simple. End of the matter. So as what Param was saying, okay, or what Joseph was saying, every data, whether it is technology-led, non-technology-led, anything which is used for decision, it depends on the way the business ethics or the business values are built into the system. And if you hold on that, obviously, I think the practices will talk for itself. The practices enable the way others also look at it, and that becomes the culture of the organization. Okay, so having worked with such kind of organization, I can tell you very proudly, it all depends on the way you would like to see it. So technology, non-technology doesn't matter at all.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you so much. I think it helped you, and so we have to stop taking questions at this point because we have limited time. So we are going to, close the session. I thank each and everyone for enlightening us, Mr. Joseph, Shri Manojji, Shri Kiranji, and Shri Paramveerji, to tell us about HR analytics, how they are practicing it. They spoke about democratic view of it and how they assess the performance of the employees, their paperless offices, and how they integrate this technology into HR domain, and how they take the decision. We also know about the project, Facebook project he talked about, how they reduce the biases through the tech engaged tech involvement and in recruitment, etc. And we also know now that what can be the careers related to the field. For example, we can become data architects or data engineers. And we ended on the point of business ethics, which is extremely important because we are in the age of data. So privacy is again a very important thing. So thank you so much, everyone. It was a very nice session. I think our students are now know a lot about HR analytics. Am I right? So thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Maybe just one thing to add. I think this is 7th HR Summit we have, right? And maybe for last 2 or 3 you would have done virtually, right? So guys, your campus is putting huge effort to bringing the industry leaders to come to your campus. So leverage that time to make a connect, not just a LinkedIn connect. You said a LinkedIn invite, we will definitely accept that. But beyond that, we are here for the entire day, even today as well, right? Take your time out. And in case you have any question, meet any of us, and I can answer your questions. So I think that will help you to also decide in your life, maybe some topic, some career change you want to make it, down the line. I think that's where you need to align with that. So your campus putting huge efforts to bring us here to meet you guys. Except, having this 1 hour session where we are sitting on a stage and we'll have a very limited time to ask questions. We have only 2 questions. But in this crowd of 100+ students, you can come and meet us, any of us, even after the session as well.
Thank you, Mr. Paraveen. I think that this will reduce the fear of HRs, isn't it? Thank you.
That was an extremely insightful discussion. Thank you to the esteemed panelists. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the panel members for their valuable insights on the topic and for sharing with us their enriching experiences. I now request Professor Damni Seni to extend the memento from IIM Raipur to our guests for gracing us with their presence in this HR Summit. Shri Joseph Philip. Shri Manoj Kharkwal. Shri Kiran Prasad Ivaturi. Shri Paramveer Singh Narang. Now, I would like to invite Shri Girish Pahadia, Corporate Relations Officer, IIM Raipur, to felicitate the moderator with a memento. I would now request all the panelists to gather for a group photograph. Thank you, everyone. In line with our commitment to a plastic-free HR Summit, there is a drinking water facility installed just outside for your convenience. We would now be breaking for lunch. We request you to be seated until all the panelists leave.